What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. We are proudly sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. If you are a growing business and need some support, they are the people to speak to. They have helped us massively, not only in their contributions to the channel, but also in the advice and guidance that they've been giving us as we continue to try and grow the channel. So thank you to them. Thank you to our Ramblers. Very much appreciated for your support. And all our new subscribers, you are all very much welcome. And thank you for choosing to support the Ramble in whatever way that is. So thank you very much. Really appreciated some of the kind comments on the last video. Felt a little bit old school Ramble, that, where I just, vent a little bit and then talk to you a lot about why, and you put your opinions back to me. And we're going much more for that vibe. I've had a little bit of time experimenting. We had a second camera at one point that, all right, didn't really work.
Wonderful.
Today, what we're going to look at is whether we should stick or twist on Hecky. And I think it's fair to say that you all know where I sit in this. What my opinion is quite clear. If you've watched any of my previous rambles or you follow me on Twitter or X, so long as you're not blocked, you'll be able to see where the land lies in terms of where my opinion is. But for the purpose of this video, there's going to be no sort of bias involved. I'm not going to be trying to persuade you either way. In fact, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why we should stick and 3 reasons why we should twist and make a change. And we're not going to be talking today about who should come in. We're going to be talking about whether we should keep Hecky or not. So let's get into it. First reason I would stick with Hecky is due to continuity. I was going to title this Continuity and Loyalty, really, because of what he's given us previously. But I don't think you can have loyalty or sentiment, if you like, when it comes to making these sort of decisions. I think continuity, however, is a very sensible way of looking at it. He has brought these players in. A lot of them have been seen as development players. He's targeted who he wants for the team and who thinks he can help bring on. We've seen he's got the record by some distance of bringing in and bringing on young players for Sheffield United. Iliman and Dye famously is the one that was sort of nurtured under his management, but everybody that he's given the debut to, you can just see that he's clearly well thought of by the up-and-coming talent at Bramall Lane. I'm on record as saying I think he's an elite academy manager. And again, I don't want to put this to play into your thinking, but I think we've given him the tools and he's now started to shape how he wants this football club to be run. It's not quite working out currently, but do we allow him a little bit longer to see if he can make this team gel together? The parts that he has assembled himself, can he gel it all together? And it's an argument to say that continuity is a reason for keeping Hecky. On a similar vein, the second reason I'm going for us to stick with Hecky is the long-term vision. We were told when he were appointed that he will not be judged on football results. Despite that, he went on and got us promoted at the second time of asking, having been obviously started off massively behind everybody else in his first season. So the long-term plan is to make this a self-sustaining football club. That is, whether we like that as fans or not, that is the reality of the situation. And if we're going to do that, surely you stick with the long-term plan, whether that's a player that's not performing, but you still see a significant amount of potential in that player, you stick with him. If that's a manager that's not performing, do you allow him to potentially get you relegated with a whimper if you believe he is the best long-term for the development of this football club and certainly this sustainable model? The counter to that would, of course, be how can the Prince have a long-term vision if he's wanting to sell immediately? Because a new owner might come in and say, no, Premier League football is the one. And we will invest short-term to remain in the Premier League and worry about the long-term later. But the plan as it is at the moment from the club is a long-term project. The other element of it is, how do you plan for the future? How do you plan the long-term contracts? If we bring in a new manager, what contracts do we renew? We might already have a load of players signed up that he doesn't want. He might want to keep Ollie McBurney and offer him a new contract, but the new manager might say, no, he's no good, so let's let him go. It could be a lot more upheaval to bring in a new manager than to stick with the current manager who is moulding things the way he wants it to be. And the third reason to stick with Hecky, and you may disagree with this point, but I think you should only even consider replacing him if you believe, as an owner or as a board, that there is a decent replacement there out there for him. I think you should only consider replacing Hecky if you believe that there's somebody better to come in. Now, obviously, the ongoing argument at the moment is Chris Wilder. That's certainly splitting the fan base. But if you take him out of the equation, or he gets another job elsewhere, or whatever it might be, who can we realistically bring in that's going to give us a fighting chance of survival in the Premier League? Because ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. If you've accepted relegation this season, you might as well keep Hecky, because Hecky will continue on in the job, and he's proven he can get out of the Championship. I think there might be a hangover if we're to be relegated with a whimper. But if you're not going to give the Premier League a go, then is there really any point in changing it? The thing you've got to be sure of is if you do change it, there's a decent replacement to come in. And if there isn't, you can't change it, because then we're just changing for changing's sake, and that never works. So those would be my three main reasons for sticking with Hecky: continuity, long-term planning, and who's going to come in and do a better job. Now, these are the reasons I'll give you for twisting rather than sticking. Firstly, it's a new voice in the dressing room. These players need some motivation. I think the players are underperforming, which doesn't help Hecky's cause, but he is ultimately responsible for their performance and getting the most out of them. And I think a new voice gives us at least a fighting chance of getting something out of these players, getting something more out of them. Second reason for twisting is fresh ideas. The definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting it to change. Well, that's what we're doing currently. I know he's changed the formation. That was forced upon him. But the same old tired methods, bringing on players as sort of a fitness plan. Ben Osborne to change a game in the Premier League. I don't know whether it's a message to the ownership. I don't know whether he genuinely believes that Ozzy will make a difference. And this isn't a persecution against Ozzy. It's just a case, I think he doesn't know what to do, Hecky, in terms of how to change a game. You can see when we're under pressure and we need to change something, but do we change it the right way? I'm not entirely convinced we do. And a new voice, whether it be the right ideas, will bring in fresh ideas. And the third reason, and perhaps the most relevant reason being, if you get it right, it can boost the whole club, changes the culture, changes the atmosphere around the club. If a new manager comes in, no matter who it is, if he wins 2 on spin, then the season's turned on its head, isn't it? The way we are going, it's only going one way. We are getting relegated, and we're getting relegated with a whimper. And I keep using that phrase, but there's no other way to describe it. Changing manager, whether it be Wilder or somebody else, gives us hope of something changing. It doesn't necessarily mean things will change, but it gives us hope that something might change. All I want for my team is for them to give everything they've got for the shirt. It's not happening at the minute. They look clueless out there. I don't think they're playing for the manager currently. A new voice, fresh ideas, and it can boost the whole club. So those are my arguments for and against change. There's no point in going into what I think should happen and who I think should come in, which this video ain't really about. But here's what some of our ramblers make of it. Would they stick or twist?
I've agonised over this for ages, and I found it really difficult to get off the fence. I mean, I think back to that second season at RAMBLER under Chris, I really found it difficult to decide whether the right thing was for him to go at the time, and I always thought he was the right man to take over or to keep in charge, if you like. Had we made the change in that second season earlier, would we have stocked up? And I'm not entirely sure that would have been the case or not. And that's why I'm kind of in the position now of thinking, well, whilst I didn't feel we needed to do a change, maybe it is the right thing to do. It's just a case of, getting someone new in, getting a different voice in, and, having a go. And if it comes off, it comes off, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. We're no worse for it.
Hi, Jimmy and rest of the Ramblers. I think it's time that Hecky went. He did a great job for us, but I think Chris Wilder's a man up the blades.
I'm on the twist wagon. As far as I'm concerned, we're just on a downward spiral at the moment with zero chance of picking up any points whatsoever. We should have a change in manager at the earliest possible time. This will lead to improved performance with the chance of picking up desperately needed points, thus leading to the probability of survival in the Premier League is increased.
Hecky in or out? Well, if the Prince had have backed him like he did Wilder, and he'd messed up royally like Wilder did, then maybe he'd have had to go. But I don't think that he's had a fair shake at Stickney as regards transfers. And that's why I was so anti-Wilder, because he had over 100 million quid and he bought some real rubbish. But team's got to change somehow. Like you say, a new manager bounce, whether that's Wilder or whoever. I still think there's enough in this team to keep us up. So if a new manager is the answer, then so be it. I mean, at the end of the day, fan base is split no matter what.
Do we stick or do we twist with Hecky? It's a difficult one for me to decide on that at the moment. I have sat on the fence for a little while thinking about it. I've tried to give Hecky every opportunity to get it right. The players have to show some responsibility here. When you go on that pitch playing for Sheffield United, we all know as fans what we to expect, and that's that fight, that grit, that determination. You run for 90 minutes, and we don't mind so much if we lose, but we're not showing that, are we? And it's worrying. As for Hecky, do we stick or do we twist? I'm thinking Saturday's going to be really important. I think if we don't get a result, I'll be leaning definitely for a twist, and I hate to say that because he's done a fantastic job for us.
I think twist. I think Chris Wilder's a man for the job, simply because he's a blade, he's one of us. Hecky's done a fantastic job, but I think time for change, new voice, and I think if anybody can get a tune out of them players, it's one of our own, and it's Chrissy Wilder. However, if we can't get Chris Wilder, who do we go for? You know, that's the tricky point. It's one of them really. We tried something different with Slav and look how that ended up. So sometimes it's a bit of a risk. But up the blades.
Thank you, Ramblers. Very much appreciated for your contributions. I'm not sure there's many left that can argue for Hecky staying at this stage. I did put it out to everybody. Just give me your genuine opinion as to whether you'd stick or twist, and that was the response I got. I think it's hard to defend a manager, despite that. If you believe he's been dealt a poor hand or not, I think it's really hard to defend somebody who loses 8-0, 5-0, and doesn't even look like turning up in half at games, particularly since Newcastle. And I think that's the one that's dropped us off a cliff. So I thought that were really interesting. Simon Jordan on TalkSport this morning they were talking about Sheffield United, and he were basically saying, they asked Simon Jordan the question, should they sack Paul Heckingbottom? And he gave reasons for and against, really. He sort of said, if you don't believe in him being the man to be able to turn it around and get positive results, then he needs to go. But likewise, if he's doing everything that's been asked of him as a manager in terms of, look, these are the limited resources you're going to have, you just have a go and do your absolute best, then it can be argued that he's doing that. He's certainly not cut adrift at the moment, but that's largely due to three other teams being very poor, not quite as poor as us, but Bournemouth, Burnley and Luton are yet to pull away. How long do we leave it would be my question before they start to pull away, and then we really are dead and buried. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are you Hecky in, Hecky out? Do you stick or twist with Hecky? I think we all know what I think. But what do you think? If you like what we do, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keep it on the Ramble for more Sheffield United content. We'll speak to you soon. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades. Ramble on!